So the Emerald Dream may in fact be a complete fake. According to Titan lore, it was the Titans that created it. We know Elune and her sister Winter Queen, as well as Ardenbuild, are connected to the dream. However, Xalatat, that is now more relevant than ever, calls Elune an upstart goddess, and seeing that Eonar, the Life Binder, is behind this creation, it is entirely possible that this might be yet another Titan Order mechanism that we are soon going to discover. Now, most interestingly, we have datamined new items that very strongly indicate that we will go into the Emerald Dream in 10.2. We have a whole bunch of interviews that talk about how 10.2 is going to be about the Green Dragonflight. It is going to be the Green Dragonflight patch. We also know the Primalists want to access the Dream, and if Titans really overtook it, this might be the reason why, because the Dream used to be theirs, it used to be elemental. Furthermore, we have the Beware the Eyes of Green, and maybe even the crazy potential return of the Natrius. So, what is all this new info, and are we really going into the actual Emerald Dream, the biggest WoW mystery in 10.2? If you guys are looking to buy Dragonflight or anything Warcraft related, Gamiibo has some amazing sales that you can check out with my link. On top of that, you can get software, gift cards, various games at crazy prices. Best of all, you can use my code DORON to add yet another discount to your purchase, so make sure to click my link below, check out Gamiibo, and grab some amazing deals. So, we legit have the biggest hint that almost certainly 10.2 is going to either be inside the Emerald Dream or very likely Emerald Dream related in some way. This isn't just my own speculation or just reaching with something, but we have interviews as well as some datamined files, and personally, I don't even think these datamined files are actually like intentional, because you know, Blizzard is known to sometimes like leak documents just to build up some hype. We've had a leak like this all the way back during Dragonflight beta. You can check out the video I made all those months ago where we learned something about underground in the first major patch 10.1. Lo and behold, the Zeralek Caverns are announced, the biggest underground zone with dragon riding we've gotten so far, and it was a pretty big leak all those months back. Alongside this, parts of 10.1 gear are called the Black Dragon Outdoor, and as Blizzard confirmed in interviews, the 10.1 patch is going to be all about black and blue Dragonflight, as it is called Embers of Eltharion. However, an item called Glaive Emerald Dream Outdoor was discovered in the database, which is essentially the same naming convention they use for 10.1. Now, personally, I wouldn't really put too much weight into this. It could really just be a coincidence. I mean, coincidences do happen. However, when 10.1 was announced, Blizzard went on like a dozen interviews and essentially gave a lot more weight to this datamined information. They were asked questions in regards to 10.2 in the Green Dragonflight, and on multiple occasions they gave some really telling answers. Now, I'm not going to read out the interviews as like a code, but essentially it boils down to a few bits of information that is super major. They confirmed 10.1 is going to be the black and the blue Dragonflight patch, as well as Dracty related, and both Neltharion and Malygos were crucial in their creation and imprisonment, as you may know, so this obviously makes sense. They don't plan to include any, aside from maybe some hints about storylines in regards to the green and the bronze. They said they want to save 10.2 for that, and the 10.2 is going to be the green, bronze, and even the red Dragonflight patch. Now, of course, all these storylines are kind of intertwined, they aren't separate, so there's definitely going to be some overlap. We might get a hint here and there, but almost certainly nothing major. Like, we shouldn't expect anything Emerald Dream related in 10.1. However, when we combine these interviews with this item, I think it is pretty safe to say that this is at least a soft confirmation, similar to that underground reveal. Now, personally, I don't think this is some mind-blowing info. In fact, it was pretty obvious that there's going to be heavy Emerald Dream involvement. If you guys can follow the story or just level the character, there is obviously Night Elf, Elune, Green Dragonflight involvement. I mean, this has been obvious pretty much since the beta. We've had the Seed of Teldrassil that is literally in the Emerald Dream, together with new old gods, Teldrassil Whisperers, that could possibly be related. I'm not saying it is related. There is a literal ancient portal to the Emerald Dream inside the Neram Plains in the heart of Green Dragonflight territory. There were Primalists that were literally trying to access the Emerald Dream itself, like literally, they told us that, and they want to corrupt it. I think it is pretty obvious that there is going to be something happening with the dream. However, what I think is even more interesting than this is that despite us possibly for the first time actually going inside the dream, there are definitely going to be Titan and Old God storylines going on, possibly involving Tyr and Zealotet as well. If you guys notice, the entire Dragonflight is definitely all about the dragons, the aspects, the separate flights, the dragon heritage on these isles. However, it's pretty obvious the real storyline is most likely going to be Old God related, and it also talks about the Titan ordering of Azeroth. This is like the true overarching storyline, the big cosmological background stuff going on, while we're dealing with these aspects of the Primalists in the day-to-day questing. With the very likely return of Queen Ashara and the Naga, there have been talks about the so-called Harbinger, and a lot of us speculated that this could be Zealotet, the possible 5th Old God, the one that was defeated. Well, Zealotet has a very interesting quote about Elune, referring to her as an upstart goddess, which to us with no context means nothing. I mean, it just kinda sounds like regular Old God slander. However, despite heavy involvement of Elune in Shadowlands, other than the fact that she's a sister of the Winter Queen and a part of the Life Pantheon, we truly know nothing about her, and maybe there actually is some substance to this statement, the upstart goddess. It is really interesting why the old gods would call her upstart if life is truly native to Azeroth. Could this mean that maybe life in its current form isn't actually native to the planet and she was planted there by someone else? Furthermore, we know that the Emerald Dream has heavy Titan involvement. In fact, it was said to be their blueprint for the nature of Azeroth, sort of like a backup, but no one really knows how true that lore really is. We know that Eona, the Titan of life and nature, is the one that empowered Alexstrasza and Ysera, who are now more relevant than ever, who are also going to just coincidentally be a part of this patch. Then we know the dream was apparently created by Freya, who is the manifestation of Eonar, but once again, who really knows how true all that stuff is? Keep in mind, Eonar is called the Life Binder, not the Life Creator, and seeing how the Titans have been exposed to be sort of tyrannical, it is entirely possible that the Emerald Dream may be something elementally related in nature, and it is now a total sham and yet another mechanism that the Titans have over Azeroth. Of course, all quoted in benevolence to hide the bad intentions. To combine this, we also know Elune is heavily involved with the dream, and her sister, the Winter Queen, has Ardenweald tied to it. The ancient beings, the old gods that controlled Azeroth in the primordial times, called Elune an upstart goddess. All of this could really indicate that the Titans had overtaken the dream, turned into the Emerald Dream that we know, and then imposed Elune and Ardenweald on it, and we could be really digging deep into this stuff. With all the other Titan and Old God teams in Dragonflight, I think this could be very highly likely, with the fact that a very mysterious Tyr storyline started in 10.0 and is confirmed to continue in 10.1, I think it is very possible that this storyline will naturally continue in 10.2 as we really just get into the heart of the matter. So naturally, we have a lot of opportunities to learn about Malfurion, the Night Elves, Tyrande, and finally that long-awaited restoration. However, even more importantly, there is the storyline about Ysera and her daughter Meritra and the famous old quote, "Beware the Eyes of Green." I have a theory about the possible return of Denatrius within the Emerald Dream, the Eyes of Green being his agent, with a video you guys can check out. However, there could be some substance to that old god whisper. Furthermore, I could totally see the Primalists being involved with that as well. We know Fyrakk is the big guy in 10.1, although he isn't actually going to be the raid boss, so it is almost certain that they're saving him for 10.2 as well as the other Primalists. So I could totally see the Primal Incarnates going into the Emerald Dream to get rid of, as they call, the Titan Stain and to reclaim what is theirs. All of this would explain why we had the Primalists trying to invade the Emerald Dream in the first place. Furthermore, as I said, Tyrande and Teldrassil storyline could continue, and we could also get significant Old God involvement, as we did get a brand new hint with the deeper its roots will grow, welcoming our embrace. What would be even more interesting is that we could, for the first time ever in WoW history, also go into the Enchanted Emerald Dream, like for real, not like back in Legion. Pretty much since Classic, this place was the biggest mystery in the entirety of World of Warcraft lore, and we might finally start getting some answers what the Emerald Dream really is and who truly is Elune. Who knows, we could actually even encounter Elune herself. At the moment, all of these are of course just hints, but just like with 10.1, there were underground hints, and as you know, we are now going into the Zaralek Caverns. Thank you for watching. Check out Could It Be a 6th Storm Dragon aspect by clicking on the screen, and check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time!